Mhm.
we consider ourselves to be a dash cam first company. We saw a lot of benefit in that as a fleet. And where you and I have really connected, and how you've connected with Stable is like how to incentivize more safety for
Yeah.
drivers. We think dash cam is probably the number one thing you can do. I can't think of anything more than you can do to personally protect yourself with an inside view dash cam.
Yeah. Well, Doug, I don't know if you've read my book, but the first thing I recommend is a phone mount. And then the second thing is a dash cam.
Okay. So I
But
was
I think
close.
phone mount, I would say about 95%, maybe higher, of drivers have a phone mount. But I did get into an Uber the other day in New York City, and the driver had a lot of rides, and he was, he had his phone sitting there in the cup holder, like
Ooh,
looking
yeah.
down at it. And I'm like, man, how
Yeah.
many rides has this guy given? He never thought to get a phone mount. It's kind of crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I
That
mean,
is pretty
every
crazy.
10 seconds, he's looking down at his phone. I'm thinking, driving in New York City traffic, that doesn't seem like a great idea.
Well, those are one of those things where I think that's table stakes now. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even think of it. Our hope is 5 years from now, dash cams are table stakes, right? Like
Yeah.
the adoption rate is that high. And we do think if we can do anything to incentivize the growth of that, some great companies out there, right? Display Ride, one that Driver, Nexar, all good products, different pros
Yeah.
and cons to them. But like there's really no reason that you shouldn't have a dash cam anymore. And for us, it's like what we're trying to do is state, hey, like we have all these benefits of having a dash cam built into the policy, whether it's a discount or deductible waiver. But then also just like trying to we subsidize the cost of it, because there's a huge amount of benefit for insurance companies if you can collect the data that's being spun off of these. And so we're willing to pay for that, for that data. It's still like a really good value for us.
Yeah. Well, so I like that, the way you put it, you're a dash cam first company. So talk a little bit more, like, why are dash cams, sort of the number one tool, it sounds like, for both, Uber and Lyft drivers, but also you as a company? Like, why specifically should a driver have it? And then how does it benefit Stable, or, improve the premium, or, dovetail into the insurance side of things?
Yeah, so there's a number of things, but probably primarily it's the actual dash cam footage, right?
Gotcha.
So I'm in an accident, and there's two huge things that happen or can go wrong with a claim, right? One is probably everybody's front of mind, like I'm not going to get this covered, or it's not going to go in my favor, and I'm going to have this put against me on my record, and my insurance rates are going to go up. So we can't always stop that from happening, right? If you're at fault, you're at fault.
Right. If you're at fault, the dash cam footage is going to maybe
it's
even
going to
work
go against you.
Yeah.
And so we understand that, and we're like, okay, how can we actually incentivize, even in instances where that is the case, that we're going to get that footage. So that's where we brought a claims guy in, a guy named Dylan Brand. He used to work at James River. Nobody's probably heard of James River, but they were Uber's number one insurer for a very long time, to actual on-platform use. So he's seen, hundreds of thousands of rideshare claims. I don't know if that's the actual number, but a very large number of rideshare claims.
Sounds good.
And his point to us was, when he came in, like he's like, I want to do one thing that we absolutely have to have done. If you're going to be a dash cam first company, you need to make sure that every single one of our customers has a dash cam. So how can we do that? And his view is like, I would pay, I don't know how much I would pay, but I'd pay at least $1,000 to have video evidence of that claim. I don't care if we're at fault, or our driver's at fault, or the other driver. I want to be able on day one to know what most likely happened in that claim. And I'll pay up to $1,000 for it. So that's where our idea of this deductible waiver, where it doesn't matter if you're at fault or not, as long as we get that video footage of you being in a claim, and cloud-based dash cams make that nearly impossible not to get that. Then we're gonna waive your entire deductible. And for us, it's like a really good deal, because what we can do then is know with certainty, in a lot of instances, what had happened, know when to say, hey, like, we're gonna settle this, or we're gonna try and resolve this as quickly as possible, or no, we're gonna fight this because we know that our driver wasn't at fault. And the kind of side benefit of all this is, and this is really important for rideshare drivers, whether they realize it or not, is it gets that claim resolved very quickly. So our whole goal from a claims perspective is to get you back on the road earning, with very little cost associated with that. So rather than a 30-day tie-up trying to resolve who's at fault and whether or not the vehicle should be fixed and by whom, we just say, hey, like that's not our main concern right now. It's really getting this, getting your vehicle fixed as soon as possible, getting you back on the road. We'll handle the rest of that after the fact. And so dash cams allow that whole process to speed up.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because I think that the most obvious reason, for me as a driver, have a dash cam. Okay, I get into an accident. It's like, who's at fault? And like you said, hey, it could work against me. You guys have a cool feature of your product where I actually sounds like I get my deductible waived, for that accident, whether I'm at fault or not, if I turn over the dash cam footage. But also, you mentioned something really important is getting back on the road. And I think this is something that not a lot of drivers think about until, frankly, it's a little too late where they get into an accident, right? If you're an Uber or Lyft driver, not a shocker, but you don't think about it. Like your car is how you make money. So if it's in the shop or you're in an accident, I mean, Uber and Lyft literally won't let you back on the platform until your vehicle is repaired and you get it, sort of inspected and make sure there's no big dents or damage or anything like that. So it's sort of like, hey, you're going to potentially lose out on money from the accident, right? If you're, have to pay a deductible or whatever, unless it's waived with you guys. And then if it takes 1 week, 2 week, 4 weeks, right? Big difference between 4 weeks and 1 week's getting back on the road versus, like in a personal auto, they could give you a rental car. You can't use that for Uber and Lyft though, right? So it is a pretty big, difference to get back on the road quickly to have that dash cam footage.